Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Millionaire Mindset Mondays. I'm Jan Carmanico Reeves, your host. We're here every Monday night at 6 p.m. EST, and we've got wonderful guests joining us. And tonight we have Michelle Bond of Vancouver, and we just spent a week together on the REI Summit at Sea, and I had a chance to get to know Michelle a little bit. And tonight she's going to talk about partnerships, and she is co-owner of Dreamscapes, British Columbia, and
Yeah,
investing in boutique hotels and lodges with partners. So she's going to tell us a little bit more about herself and talk about that tonight. So welcome, Michelle. Thank you for being our guest.
thanks for having me, Jan. It's great to get to be a part of your podcast.
So tell me about how did you get into boutique hotels? How did you form partnerships? Just explain a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I have a background in a number of different real estate investing strategies, and the very first time I invested, I started with a joint venture. So I have a book chapter coming out as well that talks about how I did my first joint venture, which is an interesting segue into to what you're asking me about, because I did it with very little money down, and I used a partner to help me with the down payment, and that sort of evolved into more diverse partnerships, which is what I'm doing now. So I've done 50-50 joint venture partnerships. And then I've done joint venture partnerships where I've got a partner on a property as a uh, like a second mortgage. So they've got some security and then they're just getting an interest rate. And then the partnership that I have now is a little bit more unique. And did you want me to talk about that one?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So when I started investing, I started with flips and then I was doing student rentals and long-term rentals. And I have a background in hotel sales and reservations. And because I've been investing in real estate for almost 2 decades, I started to get interested in doing something a little bit different. And with my hotel background, it sort of made sense to start looking at the hospitality sector. And now a lot of my colleagues are doing fabulous things with multifamily. So I've been looking at multifamily and then I was looking at Airbnbs. And then I started realizing that there was an opportunity to do a sort of a hybrid multifamily and Airbnb, and that would be boutique hotels. So there's a really great we have a really great industry for hospitality tourism in Canada, and in my own backyard in BC, of course, there's some really great niche tourist spots. I just sort of like made that word up together, and um, I sort of naturally segued into boutique hotels, and I've been working on a number of properties for the last couple years. So now I have a more unique partnership in that one. Did you want me to sorry, I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah. Tell us about it.
my phone's like going off. I just turned it off. Okay, so because this new deal is sort of a larger acquisition, it made more sense to bring in a couple of partners and to have more of a sort of more opportunities than just for one person. So what we're doing with this one is a share structure. So we're Yeah, so this one we're offering about 5 shares depending on where we land with our first position mortgage. So we're qualifying for a first position mortgage, and we already have something that we've got a letter of intent on and just waiting for the mortgage commitment. And then for the rest of the equity that we need to make up the full purchase price, it made sense to bring in a number of partners as shareholders. So what we're doing on this one is actually offering, one of my friends actually mentioned, Michelle, you're offering people 3 ways to win. So it's been very competitive in our marketplace with people doing really great things with passive lenders and full JV partners and GPLPs. And because I'm doing something unique, I wanted to give people a really lucrative opportunity that gave them some security, plus also, gave them some fun in the hotel and also gave them like a good return. So in this opportunity, each share that we're doing is 100K, and that gives each person a 13% equity share. And the equity share also is the same as the revenue split. So 13% of the revenue, and then each partner also is going to be receiving a preferred interest rate. And then in order to give them some idea of when they can leave the deal, then we have a 5-year exit plan so that when everything is when we've increased the value of the property with the amenities that we're planning to add in my business plan, then they'll have the opportunity to exit at the 5-year mark. When we do a refinance and we can pay everyone out, then they can collect their equity, and then they've been making a preferred interest rate and revenue split the whole way.
Nice.
So it made more sense to have shares so that I don't have to just find one partner to be involved. I can have multiple partners, and then we're capping it at 8, just because that seems to be the magic number. And yeah, so and then of course I'm working with a lawyer. So everything is outlined legally. I did an NDA to start off with, and as I've evolved in my career, I've made sure that we're doing everything properly and at a very professional level. So I've got a really great team behind me that is, doing A+ work, and everyone will have a legal structure with outlining what the share agreement is and how the partnership is working, and what's involved with the partnership and how we're planning to exit.
Awesome.
So
So is
yeah,
it structured as a GPLP?
yeah. So it I initially was structuring it like a GPLP, and
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of evolved because what's going to happen with this one is that my company is purchasing the hotel, but each of the partners will get to have a share in my company. And so then it sort of becomes a little bit more like a hybrid. It's similar to a GPLP, whereas the partners will have protection and they're not expected to run or operate the hotel, and will have legal protection that they are protected from any anything that comes up or goes on with the hotel. My company that will be the GP essentially on the deal will be responsible for all of the operations and the maintenance and advertising and marketing and like all the working stuff. And so they'll have protection of just getting to invest in a passive way, like an LP. It's sort of a hybrid between GPLP and a JV.
Okay, yeah, because they put their funds in initially, they're and then they get them back at refinance, but that's when the relationship ends.
Yeah, that's the idea. The
Mm-hmm.
goal for Dreamscapes is to continue to scale and expand, and give people an opportunity to know when their finances are coming back to them, and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
come back and invest with us again.
Right, right. So, um, I'm not sure that I understand that they're shareholders, but the shareholder agreement is only for 5 years and then it's
Yeah,
dissolved.
so the shareholder agreement's for 5 years, and
Mm-hmm.
it will state something along the lines that at the 5-year mark that Dreamscapes, my company, has the right to buy or is planning to buy out everyone's shares, and that we're going to take over everyone's position and pay them back their initial capital that they've invested in the deal, plus split the equity at that point for the refinance.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. That's yeah, yeah, very good. Very
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So that's your latest deal. And so why don't you tell us how your first deal, how that got going?
Yeah, sure. It was really great, actually. I don't know if I should do a little teaser for my book chapter that's coming up. It's a really interesting story. Do you want to hear it quickly?
Sure.
Okay, so I actually invested in my first deal with 97 cents.
Fun.
Yeah, so literally, I was a starving student, and I had just finished university, and I had mountains of student loan debt. And I had always planned to buy my own property, and I always wanted to own my own home. I always thought, why would I want to pay someone else's mortgage and when I could just pay my own mortgage? And I think I knew that since I was about 14. So I got started in investing because when I was going to university, there was a front page article on the school newspaper that was about this guy that had flipped his way into $1 million penthouse when he was still in university. And so he had done that by investing in pre-sale condos. And he had made sure that he invested in markets in the Lower Mainland that had a low entrance fee. And by the time the project was completed, then it was a much higher value. So then he got to refinance, take out the proceeds and the profit that he made, and then went and bought a slightly better property and another pre-sale, and then rinse and repeat. And he kept doing that till he was in $1 million penthouse. And that was 20 years ago. So $1 million
Nice. Yeah.
valued a lot more than it is now. And I remember,
Hmm.
oh, I wonder if I could do that. And back then, the the you could get up to 95% loan to value on a mortgage. It was pretty normal. Uh,
Hmm.
in BC, I'm not sure about the rest of Canada, but you only need 5% down. And so I remember you could buy condos for around $200,000 in my neighborhood, which was Burnaby Coquitlam. And I thought, well, I don't have $13,000. I have $60,000 in student loan debt. How am I ever going to do that? And one day I saw a flyer come under my door that said that there was a showing for a pre-sale development right down the street from where I lived, like right by Lougheed Mall, which has a really central SkyTrain station and is really central to Highway 1 in Vancouver. So I thought, well, I got to go see that. That is a prime area for investing. And I had been thinking about this guy and what he'd done and thought, I wonder if I could do that. I looked at the price. I knew what the prices were for the completed properties in the area, which was around $300,000. And this one was the one bedrooms were priced at like 215 or 209. And I thought, well, I have no money, but what's the harm in going down there? So marched down there and I was wearing this like pom pom toque and my Simon Fraser University t-shirt and probably jogging pants. I probably smelled like stale coffee and I thought I'd just look around and it was so beautiful and it was so exciting and it was the numbers in my head already made so much sense and I thought like there's no way I can do this, but the saleswoman came up to me and she goes, oh, so what do you think, do you like what you see? And I said, yeah, it's amazing. I wish I could do it. And she goes, well, you put a deposit down now and you don't actually have to pay the down payment till we're closer to the closing date, which is in about a year and a half. And I thought, oh, well, I don't have a down payment. I don't have a deposit. And I said, well, like, how much do you need for a deposit? Just humoring her. And she didn't really give me a straight answer. She said, well, what do you got? So I rifled through my pockets and I pulled out my change and I said, well, I have 97 cents. And I was just half joking. And she goes, okay, yeah, well, we can do that.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
I couldn't believe my ears and I couldn't believe this was happening. But like I literally like slid 97 cents across the table to her. And then she took a photo of it on a Polaroid and did up some paperwork and like handed it over to me. And she said, don't worry, you don't need to give us the down payment for 18 months. And I thought in my head, well, that's doable. Like, yeah, I can figure that out by then. So, I went home and I thought, oh my God, I think I just like bought a property or I'm on the way to buying a property. Like, what am I going to do here? So, I quickly got on the phone to family and I said, I'm doing this thing. And, and I knew the numbers. So I said, I've done an analysis and I wonder if you'd lend me the money, then I'll pay you back as soon as it's completed because I'm going to refinance it immediately and it's going to be worth this much money. And I know that it's going to be worth this much money because here's the analysis I've done on the market for the last couple of years. And so it'll be easy for me to pay you back. And back then I was not so savvy or like as generous with interest. And because it was a family member, I didn't offer any interest. I just said I'll pay you back. And it took them a while, but because it was family, eventually they did say yes, and they were just about to blow a gasket because it was only $13,000, which really in the grand scheme of things is not a ton of money, but it was scary and they didn't believe me or trust me because I was, just at a university. What did I know? But I did know. I was really confident in myself and what I was doing. So I put down, or I got them to lend me the down payment, which I didn't need right away, anyways. And then when it was completed, I might be a little bit off on my timeline. I might have had to put the down payment down a bit sooner, probably subject to removal, obviously, maybe a month or two before. And then I got my mortgage with one of the big five banks. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say which one, but I was so naive at that time. I knew exactly what I was going to do. So I got my mortgage. I put my down payment. I'm, getting going with paying my mortgage, which was affordable. It was about the same as what I was paying in rent, anyways. And then quickly, I got another appraisal done, and they said I think I paid 209 or 215 for the property, and the appraisal. Guess what it came back at? And this was only 18 months later. The appraisal came back at $330,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I quickly marched into the bank and within a month or two of, taking possession and said, I want to refinance. And their jaw dropped to the floor. And I just, in my mind, thought everyone does this. I was so naive. And I think they were really angry because they, thought I was going to be in this for the long haul, but they did it. And I think I got $80,000 in my pocket from that.
Nice.
I paid
Nice.
off, I wiped out all my student loans. And then I went back to my family member and I said, okay, you want to do it again? This time let's do 50-50, and we'll go into the next one and you'll get 50% of the profit for putting in 50% of the down payment, and I'll put in 50% and I'll get 50%. And they were in disbelief, but they were kind of a little bit more on board with me now. And then they said, okay. So I got another one right away within a couple months.
Nice. Now, did you end up giving them something for the first loan or no?
You know, I should have. And I
Yeah.
think what I gave them was an opportunity to invest with me again, more money. So the
Right.
second one we did, we each walked away with 60K. So,
Nice.
um, I mean, I was so young and uneducated in all the creative ways of doing
Right.
partnerships. I should have, but I felt good about myself that I was able to say, here's 60K. The second one we did, we each put in $13,000. So that was a massive return on their investment for not having to do any of the work. So
Right.
I think
True.
they still were in disbelief, but they, felt good. And then they told all their friends that they were an investor, and they went to Hawaii, and then they bought themselves all these presents and told everyone what a great job they had done on investing in this property. And
Okay,
like,
so you were the working partner and you put in
yes.
50%, but you gave them 50%. So that was the payoff for the first one, right?
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good. Very good. And then do they still invest with you?
Um, no, we kind of moved on. I started investing with another partner, and I think they were done after that. They had their 60K, and that was sort of like winning the lottery, and then
Yeah.
they were good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And what they could have done with that 60K if they kept, they could have had a trip to Hawaii every year. Right?
totally, totally. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
right.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So, that's great. So, what other partnerships have you done with your boutique hotels? Like, what was is this your first boutique hotel or do you have others?
Well, interestingly, I've been juggling like five of them for the last 2 years, and it's kind of
Hmm.
been back and forth. So I've been working with different team members on like creative acquisition strategies. So I was trying to partner with, or not trying, but I had offered to partner with a couple of the owners, and because some of the properties that I've been analyzing have really great fundamentals, but sometimes there's one piece that's missing. And
Hmm.
because the interest rates were so high, and I had like done such a like extensive business plan and business strategy for some of the properties, I knew that these things could work, but just needed sort of a little bit of leeway to get things going. So I actually offered to partner with one of the properties with an agreement for sale.
Hmm.
We thought this was going to be a really great strategy. And I brought in a team member who is a coach that I worked with a little bit in Alberta who does tons of agreement for sales. So we
Hmm.
went and did a really nice presentation and showed them how it would work and said, if you will be willing to entertain an agreement for sale partnership for 6 months, then we will, make some legal documents that say then after that point, then we'll take over. Now we'll after we've raised the revenue, then we should have it at a number that the banks will like, and then we can refinance it or like get a mortgage that's more appropriate. Because right now, the way that the fundamentals are going, like we just need a little bit of a boost. And if you're willing to do an agreement for sale as a partnership, then we could get that one going. So the one owner I was working with said, she really wants me to take over and she really likes me. We're both teachers, but she wasn't quite ready to stay. She didn't want to stay in the deal. She, was uh, gracious and entertained us, but she didn't want to stay in the deals agreement for sale. So we did try that. And then we had another property that we've been working on, and sort of similar situations because the interest rates were so high. I pitched a similar offer. I said, if you want to do a VTB seller financing for a certain period of time, then once we get the revenue up again, once I implement my business plan, business strategy, then we will propose to refinance it and take over and buy you out 100%. And they were still thinking about that, but again, they had it in their mind that they were going to be cashing out and traveling off to exotic locations. So both those owners are still we're still discussing, and I'm really laser focused on the current deal that's coming up right now.
Hmm.
So our those discussions are sort of going a little bit slower right now. And but we are trying to find a way that we can still do some other kind of partnership, if not with them, then again with my group of investor partners. So
Hmm.
everything's been quite creative. Yeah.
Fun, fun. Yeah. Well, and sometimes sellers don't understand those strategies, right? If they're not investors, they don't really understand all the benefits of a vendor take back mortgage, or that they can defer their capital gains. And it's just like a paycheck every month, right? That's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's interesting you say that because when I was talking to my colleague in Alberta that was helping me put together the agreement for sale for one of the properties, she mentioned that, we really need to draw it out, like literally, like do a diagram and a graph of how the money's working and how the numbers are working for them, because people, like you said, do need to see how it makes sense, and then and go over like it might make sense to me or for other investors how the tax incentives work, or sorry, that's not the right word, the tax benefit.
Deferral. Yeah,
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 referrals.
yeah.
So we did draw it out, and I think they did understand it. And their realtor, commended us on the professionalism and the detail. So,
Hmm.
but in the end, it just wasn't a good fit for what they wanted to do right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're right. I've talked to a couple of owners about VTB, and we did have to really lay it out. And one of them was really excited about it initially. And circumstances just changed. But once we explained it to them, I think you're right. A lot of owners don't
They
know,
don't know, and realtors don't know.
and realtors don't know either. And it's funny, like with the as much experience as I have, I was, assuming that everyone's a real estate investor and that all realtors understand real estate investors. But and my realtor, that one of the realtors I'm working right now is an investor, and he understands a lot of creative financing, but that doesn't mean the seller's realtor does.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a team effort to be very professional and strategic, and yeah, try and show everyone how that kind of thing is a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when there's two realtors involved, even if your realtor somewhat understands it, if they haven't actually done it themselves, maybe they've only read about it, or, been explained to them. And then you're going to a realtor who doesn't know about it, trying to explain it to him, and he's trying to explain it to his clients, or he's trying, I shouldn't assume he, but they're trying to explain it to their clients who don't know about it. It's like the game of telephone, right? And
Yeah,
things get misconstrued. Yeah. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. And it really is. a great opportunity for everybody involved. But
It's interesting you say that because along the way, I've had different colleagues and coaches and mentors say, whatever you do, you got to get the seller on the phone. You can't pitch this through the realtor. You
yeah,
got to talk to them in person. And
yeah.
so each time, like I've done a couple different things, like I've written nice letters. Uh,
Hmm.
I have talked to them on the phone. We have done Zoom. We have met in person, and definitely that's the only way to get your foot in the door. Because I think at
Absolutely.
least we were entertained, and they did get to consider it. But there would have been no way if I just wrote something up to the realtor, because passing that along is tricky to
Hmm.
expect that it's going to land the way you hope it to.
Absolutely. Yeah, and especially if they don't understand it, right? Like even to read it on a piece of paper, if they don't understand what it means or how it works, is a conversation face to face, like person to person conversation is always best. That's why
Yeah,
off market is ideal for vendor take back mortgages that you can fully explain it to somebody, right?
yeah, totally,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So those are both still in the works, so the agreement for sale as well.
yeah, so we're going to be coming back to that. Like now that interest rates have been dropping, like
Hmm.
we have some more wiggle room, and I think there's more opportunities. So um, we're still entertaining that one, and the other one is one of my favorites. I can't say too much more about that one. And then there was two other ones on the island. One of them's a bit farther away on Vancouver Island. Sorry, I forget. Not everyone's in BC.
Yeah.
One of them, the seller's been away and they have a young family. And then there's another one that's been a really unique deal as well. I can't say too much about it. That one would probably be more traditional financing. We did talk to them about VTB, and we started
Michelle,
telling
if
them,
I can, I'm just going to interrupt you for a sec. I just had a thought. Maybe some of the listeners don't know what a VTB and agreement for sale is. So
oh,
maybe we
sorry,
should back up and explain that, right? So
good idea.
do you want me to go ahead or do you want to go ahead or?
I can give you my version, and you can
Sure, sure.
uh, also tell me anything else that needs to be added.
Yeah, okay, sure. Go ahead.
So my version of VTB is sort of interchangeable with seller financing, and VTB means vendor take back mortgage. So basically, essentially, what it means is that the seller is giving you a loan, or they're giving you a
Through the
mortgage.
bank. Yeah,
They're the
yeah.
So if I'm going to buy a property that's say $100,000, and it's I'm asking them for a vendor take back mortgage, say for 75% of the loan to value, then they're going to lend me, if they're agreeable to it, $75,000. And then between the two of us, we get to decide on our own what the interest rate is. And it's all up for creative interpretation. So I can offer to pay them principal and interest back, or just interest, or just principal, depending on, what their appetite is, and, how to make it a win-win. Usually it works best if you're having trouble with qualifying for a mortgage on that property, either with the numbers itself or personally. Um, or you're just trying to create a win-win and give them a little bit extra, maybe the price that they're asking, maybe they're asking 125, and you're trying to say, well, we can get to closer to 125 if we do a VTB, a vendor take back mortgage, because I'll be giving you principal and interest on that mortgage, which is going to be, maybe you're selling it to me for 100K, but you're also still capitalizing on the interest
The
payments that you're making.
interest. Yeah, yeah.
And you can do it, like I've been
Well,
very
and it can also be a second mortgage, right? If you go
yeah, oh yeah,
if
that's
you
right.
go get traditional financing, but the financial institution will only loan you a certain amount because of the value presently of the building, the income that it's generating. You can go to the seller and say, well, we only have this much for the down payment. Would you give us a second mortgage as a VTB?
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting you say that, because one of the deals
Mhm.
I was working on, originally the bank we were working with said that they would accept a second position VTB.
Right. And that's what you have to make sure that they will before, right? Yeah.
Interesting that I've learned in my journey, and you might have shared this before, but the big five banks don't typically like a second position vendor take back or seller financing mortgage, but some of the B lenders and the prime
Credit
lenders
unions. Yeah,
sometimes are okay with that.
right.
So um, I had a lender that said they would accept a VTB, and
Hmm.
one of the sellers I was working with was considering doing 25%.
Hmm.
And to make the numbers work, while the interest rates were really high, and what I had offered them, which is really interesting, and I highly recommend, learned this on my journey. I said, the first year we'll do a tiered interest rate. The first year I'll give you this lower percentage as I'm getting the revenue up, and then the
Hmm.
second year it bumps up, and the third year, and it keeps bumping up until the 5 year mark. And I'm going to plan to refinance at 3 years if I can. But like the penalty to me and the benefit to you is you get a higher interest rate each year the longer that you stay in the deal.
Yeah. It's all about being creative, right? Like it could be a 0% VTB to make the deal work. It could be a
Yep,
10% VTB with a balloon payment so that your DCR still works. Like it's the possibilities are endless of how to make it work.
totally. And then did
Yeah.
you want to talk a little bit about agreement for sale too?
Sure. Yeah.
So and and also feel free to add. So my understanding of what we were working with agreement for sale was basically we're offering to rent your property from you until we have a legally binding agreement that says at a certain point in time at a certain date, then we need to finance it or buy it off you. So maybe I'm doing an agreement for sale, which is really is what I'm thinking in my mind is really like a rental period. And but you can also be creative there. So I'm renting it for you at this amount of money, and
Well, you
you're
cover all the expenses, right? Their
yeah,
mortgage payments, insurance, I don't know, taxes.
yeah. And so
Hmm.
in that time, I've taken over the operations and the control of the property, but you're still on title. You're still the mortgage holder. I'm
Hmm.
basically just renting
They
off you.
still own the property. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then at the end of the agreement for sale term, if for some reason I can't take over or it's not working out, then it's also it's a good scenario for the owners because they've been able to have everything paid the whole time, plus they've made some interest, and then it's like, okay, well,
Plus, they have a better property now because you've
yeah,
increased the value of it, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how can they lose?
Yeah.
Really?
Totally. How can they lose?
Yeah. Yeah.
Best case scenario is we go, okay, now we're buying it at this date that we said that we're going to buy it at. You've, you know, had to stay in the deal a little longer. You've made some income off of it, and now we're here we go. And
Right.
then
And oftentimes you'll sometimes people are wanting more than what their property's worth, right? Based on
yeah,
the income that it's generating and maybe they don't understand how a property is valued. So with an agreement for sale though, it gives you the opportunity to purchase at a little bit higher price than what it's worth because you know you have that 6 months, year, whatever it is until you actually take ownership and then you can get financing at that higher value and be able to pay that price, right?
yeah.
And hopefully get some money in your pocket.
It's so interesting you say that, John, because that's exactly the scenario that happened on the property that I was working with. Like we
Hmm.
all the things. Like I tried to go for financing and the interest rate versus the revenue wasn't quite there, but the properties, the comparables in the area were doing so fabulously. And with putting my business plan and business structure on it, I could see how we could meet or exceed what everyone else was doing. It just wasn't
Hmm.
utilized to its highest and best use. So and then we said, okay, well, we can't make it work with traditional financing unless you lower the price to this. And they said, no, we can't do that. And I said, okay, or we can do a VTB, vendor take back. If you will give us first position, we can do this percentage of interest, or we can do a portion of second position. I'll try to get some financing. And they said, no, we don't really want to do that. So then the third option was, and because they still wanted their price, even with the VTB, I needed a lower price to make sure the DCR worked. Maybe you could
Hmm.
explain more about that. And so we thought, yeah, let's give them what they want. My realtor and I talked about it, and my colleague in Alberta, and she said, yeah, well, it could work with the price that they want if you can start getting the revenue up and start, getting the property to a point that you can finance it for the amount that they're asking, but you might need 12 or 18 months to do that. So, and then I thought, well, that's great. It's brilliant. I would love to give you the price you want. You're attached to that number. You feel like it's the number that makes the most sense to you. You don't, and if I can give you a way to make it a win-win for both of us, why not?
Yeah, it's just getting them to understand it, right? Because they do get anchored to their number. So it's, yeah, just working with the seller to make them understand how it really is beneficial for them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
like as I'm going along the journey, like I have to be careful when I'm doing my analysis with the numbers, with the revenue. And hotels are, similar but a little bit different than long-term rentals and multifamily, because our the revenue sort of changes from season to season. So I want to make sure that overall from year to year with the 5-year history that the DSCR is still good. We're
Hmm.
looking for turnkey properties ideally that are making a good rate, but that we can add value to and bring it up even higher.
Hmm.
I don't know how to explain DCR or DSCR, as some people call it. But it's basically like a number that tells you, whether this is a viable deal in a
Yeah, the
sense.
debt service ratio. So the amount of income it's bringing in, um, compared to the expenses that it has.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
including, and the banks look at it, including the debt servicing, which is the mortgage payments, whether there's first, second, yeah, whatever whatever the lender allows for, right?
Yeah,
So if it's traditional financing, things are a little tighter. If it's a vendor take back mortgage or a B lender, sometimes they'll let you get a little more creative, or private financing, right?
yeah, that's
And
right.
you can, yeah, usually cost more,
Yeah,
but if you can make the deal work, then that's the price of doing business, right?
totally,
If you can
exactly.
acquire the asset. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you want any other stories. I had another really cool.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the last flip I did that I just sold last year was out of province in Alberta. I'm in BC, in Vancouver, of course, as my name says. So we were trying to do a second position mortgage, and I racked my brains at how to make this one deal work. So I had a property in Edmonton that I wanted to do a flip on, and I only got a 60% first position mortgage loan to value. And I needed money for the renovations and for the down payment. And I had some of it, but it made more sense to bring in a partner. So I had some capital fluid for other deals that I was working on. So I thought, okay, well, this is easy. I will just do a 60% loan to value first position, and I'll do 40% second position with my partner. And so we were going along, and the lender said, oh, wait, no, you can't do that because we only allow 80% loan to value overall financing. You have to have some skin in the game. You have to have at least 20%. And I thought, oh my goodness, like I can't do that and have money for renos and for other projects I'm working on. So I thought, what am I going to do here? And so we got really creative with I had a lawyer in Alberta and a really good lawyer in Vancouver, excellent team. I can't recommend them all enough. They're really good. So s- along the way, one of them said, well, you can try and put a second position mortgage on your other BC property, which is in the Okanagan, and then we don't have to alert that lender necessarily. We're going to put a second mortgage on it, and then you'll take that money out as cash.
Hmm.
And now you have cash, and then you go, okay, fine. Here's the 40% of the
Right.
down payment for the second, um, for, yeah, to make up the balance on the Edmonton property. So that got really creative, and my partner was happy because she still got to have security. As an attachment to one of my properties instead of just being a private lender that's just doing a promissory note. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
we had lawyers involved in different provinces. She had a lawyer. I had a Vancouver lawyer. I had a Alberta lawyer. So, but we got it done, and I thought that was it was a great learning experience. And now I know that that's something possible that you can do also.
Yeah, I just did something very similar on property I just closed on, and they originally were offering me 80% loan to value. Then at kind of the last minute, they said no, only 70% loan to value. So I had to come up with the
Yeah.
difference, right? So that's what I brought in somebody privately to do a second on another property that I own to come up with the balance of the,
Oh,
yeah,
the
same,
great thing.
yeah, yeah,
That's fun.
same thing, right? So now I'm doing traditional refinancing so I can pay that lender back
Oh, okay.
on the
That's
private.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. It's all about getting creative, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think like don't if you don't have an actual no, you don't have to stop. Like it's I think it's all about tenacity and like as crazy as our climate is and crazy busy everybody is, it my like theory and my motto is like I don't take maybe for an answer. I keep going till I get a no. If it's like I'm not sure, maybe I don't know, I'm thinking about it. Okay, well we're gonna keep going and we're gonna keep
Even a
pitching.
no is
Yeah,
until what about if?
what about this? Yeah,
Yeah.
what about that?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of different choices and a lot of different opportunities to be creative with financing and
Hmm.
creative partnerships too.
Yes, absolutely. So I speak about creative financing. I don't know because I've been self-employed all my life. That's my my mantra, right? Like that's what I've had to do
Yeah,
to get started. And yeah, and now that I want to scale, that's what I'm doing is bringing in financial partners to be able to keep doing deals and yeah, use my creativity and my expertise to be able to make money for them passively. So
yeah,
that's what it's all
exactly.
about, right? It's collaborating.
And like I'm learning, and I'm sure you know as well, like not everybody has the time or the expertise to be the working partner. And what a great
Mhm.
opportunity if you have somebody that's an expert with expertise in their field that can do the analysis, do the work, run the numbers, and then give you an opportunity to still be an investor, but to do it passively. Like
And get great returns,
a great
right?
returns.
Yeah,
It's so
way
true.
better than those little locked in GICs that are right.
Yeah, totally. And I had no idea about real estate partnerships when I was getting my feet wet. I thought GICs were amazing at 3% back in the day. I
Yeah.
wish someone had told me about,
Secure. Yeah.
yeah. I remember my bank complimenting me, "Oh, you're doing so well with your savings." But yeah, I wish I had started doing this a little earlier or had known. And yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for lots of people.
Absolutely. So what's that first condo that what did you pay? 218 for it? What
It
would
was
that be
it
worth
was like
today?
215. Let's say 215 just to be
Okay. Okay.
generous. Yeah. That's right. 215.
And what's it worth today?
Well, actually, off the top of my head, where it's located is in Burquitlam. And if I was I could look it up right now on Honest Door. It's probably worth $600,000,
Yeah.
maybe 650.
Yeah. So tripled essentially.
Totally, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. No, if that and that 97 cents, I don't think if that tripled
Brilliant.
or it
Just
was in a GIC for that length of time, I don't think it would have made 400 grand, right?
yeah, you're not kidding. I wonder if it'll show. Do you ever use Honest Door? It's such a neat little app.
No,
Oh, I got to tell you about it. I don't know if probably can't see it on the
no,
TV.
I can't. It's called Honest Store.
Yeah, I highly recommend it for any of your viewers. Honestdoor.com. And it does a decent job. So basically, it's like an analysis tool. You just type in any address and it'll give you its appraisal on what it thinks it's worth. Oh, there's my property from just what I said. So in my property in Burnaby that I bought for $215,000 today, it says it's worth $597,000.
Okay,
600.
so there you go. There you
I
go.
said 600 or 650. And it's funny, it's been sold a few times. 2018 it sold for 499, and in 2023 it sold for 590. And honestdoor.com also at the bottom of the listing, it shows you like a 12-month projection, and it shows you 12 months back of where the prices have been on that
Really
property.
interesting. And is that across Canada or is that
Yeah.
just in BC?
Oh, it's across Canada. I look up properties in Alberta. They're on it all the time. My market is just Western Canada right now,
Yeah, yeah.
but I've looked at stuff all across the country. And it's pretty
Wow.
accurate. Like the property that I'm targeting closing next month,
Hmm.
the, the price that it has listed here is almost exactly the same as the appraisal I got on the property.
Really?
Yeah. So it's not just
Oh,
like the
I'm totally going on that. To just yeah, play with my properties and see how accurate it
yeah,
is.
and the one that I bought in Edmonton was actually the price I got for it was slightly less than what Honest Door said. And then when
Hmm.
I renovated it, because it was a flip, um, it didn't update right away because it didn't know that it had been renovated. And I think
Right.
you can flag the app and say that this has been renovated. And so then a month later, I looked at it, and then the price was similar to what I sold it for.
Really? Very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Thanks for the tip on that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's an app.
It's a website.
Okay, it's a website.
Yeah. Should I t can I type it into
You know
you?
what? We'll type it in Facebook
Okay.
because people won't have access to this chat. So
And
to the Zoom chat. So we'll type it in Facebook Live or the Facebook post.
okay, sure. And then
Yeah.
do you know that there's another website where you can analyze room revenue for hotels and Airbnbs? If
Which,
anyone else if anyone else is doing Airbnbs that's watching, there's a really good website that's called AirDNA.
oh
Have you
yes, yes, I am familiar with that. Yes. Air DNA for anybody who yeah, wanted to
rentals?
do comparisons. Yeah, and that can be anywhere.
That's right.
Yeah, any country. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's another good one. Well, very good. Very good. So, any stories you want to tell about partnerships that maybe didn't go so well or things you could have done to prevent
Yes. I have a great
issues
story.
coming up or
Yeah, so always use a lawyer. And
hmm.
the fees and amounts you're going to pay for legal fees are worth it in the end, to make sure that your partnership is structured properly, and make sure that you use a real estate investor focused lawyer. So when I was starting out, I just went for referrals from friends and family that had used realtors on their residential deals, or I can't remember the there's another type of person that can sign off on deals that has a different name. I can't remember what it is right now. But I didn't know I needed legal structures. And when one of the joint venture deals I did with family members, a family member, I said, okay, so actually, we're going to invest in this 50-50. And then when the pre construction is completed, we're going to sell it. So, and they said, okay, sounds great. And I said, this is what the value is going to be when, based on my market analysis, what it's going to be when it's completed. Here's what we're buying it for. This is what it should be worth. This is what we should profit after we've paid all the expenses. And they said, okay, sounds good. So we got to the completion date and I said, okay, let's put it on the market. But I also had put them on title 50-50. So they
Hmm.
had say in what was happening with it. And you don't have to put your partner on title because they're actually like, for tax purposes, are now liable for the capital gains as well.
Hmm.
So I I I just like thought I could trust my family member. And when I went to sell, they said, "Oh, we changed our mind. We want to be landlords." And I said, "What are you talking about? We're the idea was that we're selling this and this is what it's worth now. We're going to make a profit." And they said, no, our friends told us that it's a really good idea to be a landlord and we want to make passive income. So that's what we're going to do. And you can't force us to do anything different because we're on title 50%. And my heart sank and I thought, oh my God, I didn't have a legal agreement to say that to outline how the partnership worked or when it was going to end or what the exit strategy was. And I
Oh,
had no leg to stand on to
you just
get.
bought it 50-50. You're both on title. End of story.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
got stuck in that deal for 6 or 7 years. So I did end up having more long-term tenants for a long time. And I had already been a landlord before that on one of my other properties, but I got stuck in that for far too long. And then one day I said, like I need to move on. And I think I suddenly woke up one day and thought, well, I'm just going to get a realtor and do the paperwork and just present it to them. I had
Hmm.
some like I was actually having a baby and I thought like I need to move on in my life and in my own home and my own family. So I just got another realtor as if we were selling, drafted it all up and then I got him to call them with me on a three-way call and just said, "Oh, hey, we've got the paperwork. We're ready for you to sign it." And just sort of caught them off guard. And then they, messaged me privately. They're like, "Oh, are you trying to like, move on with your family?" And I said, "Well, yeah." Like, yeah, that was always the goal. So that was really difficult to get out of. And funny looking back, if I had been able to flip it like I had thought, well, would have been able to keep doing that process on pre-sales and other things too, and rinse and repeat. And, we all could have made more money together, but we didn't get to in that one. So
So get your
lawyers of the
agreements in
courts.
writing.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 If that's, yeah. So you had verbally said, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
I thought it's family. I should be able to
Mm,
trust family, friends of
yeah.
family.
And had you not put them on title, you just had a separate joint venture agreement, then you could have called the shots and not.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
so then later partnerships, I always had like proper legal arrangements. And so like my partner that I worked with last year in Edmonton, like I would I know that she would say she had a great experience with me. And I'm so proud to say that we were both really clear on the structure of our partnership, the structure of our arrangement, how everything was working and how the exit strategy was. And everything that I said I was going to do, I did. And everything that she thought and understood that I communicated was exactly what happened and what was going to happen. And there was no like surprises and no maybes. So I felt really good about that. And yeah, I will always use a really good lawyer from now on.
Totally worth it. Yeah, to pay a lawyer to drop a joint venture agreement and to advise you to be solely on title, you could have taken your money at closing, you know, sold the property, and you could have used that capital over and over and over again. How many times
Yeah,
in six or
yeah.
7 years? Yeah. Yeah. So that really, it was an expensive lesson. I mean, I'm sure you made money on it after that amount of time, but
Yeah.
you could have made a lot more had you reused it several
Yeah,
times
my
that
97
period.
cents could have gone a lot farther for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, live and learn, right? That's what experience teaches us. And I mean, you didn't, well, lost opportunity. It's the is the cost there, right?
Totally.
Yeah,
Yep.
you didn't lose money on that deal, but it was the cost of the lost opportunity that
Yeah,
those funds
totally.
could have done over and over.
That's
That's
right.
great. Well, those are great stories. Okay, so one more thing before we wrap up. What's the best joint partnership deal that you've ever done?
Well, it's funny. I've always been a working partner. Like, I'm really proud of the deal that I did last year. And I'd say I'm quite proud of the structure that I'm doing on the hotel acquisition. We've got a number of things happening. Like, I feel really proud of, what I'm able to give my partners with my experience and what the deal's going to bring to them. They're all really enthusiastic about it as well. And I think it's going to be really fun. Like they're going to get to go to that hotel and enjoy it. and they're going to get to see how it evolves, and they're going to get to watch the marketing and advertising. Like, I mean, now that I have the experience, I think I can't wait for that to just keep going. Like, I think I'm looking forward to the future with that one. I'm really excited about it. But yeah, I'm proud of the deals that I've done in the last few years. The partnerships have worked really well. And yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I think that's what I'm most excited about right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Just watching it come to fruition, right? With all your hard work.
Yeah, and whenever like I'm able to what's the word, like not present, but like execute and like fulfill my promises, like that's such a great feeling. Or even exceed, like if I'm doing a flip and I'm able to exit someone a little bit sooner for the amount that they want, and now they've gotten everything back already, they've been made whole, and
Hmm.
that's a great feeling. And
Yeah.
then having them be along for the ride and get to share in the return is such a great feeling.
Absolutely. Being able to, yeah, help other people make money, right?
Totally.
Hmm. Well, that's great. Thanks again, Michelle, for joining. It was a pleasure spending last week with you on the ship. Your logo reminds me a little bit. The waves there in the mountain almost looks like a ship in the background.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
representation of the
yeah,
ocean.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, again, thank you again for joining. If people wanted to reach out to you to know more, uh, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
So my website is called propertiesbymichelle.ca, and there's a little like click button where you can click to contact me. You can also reach me on my email address, which is propertiesbymichelle at I think at gmail.com. My regular email is mbondmail, mbondmail at gmail.com. You can also look me up on Facebook. It's Michelle Bond Vancouver. It's a little picture of me with my thick glasses wearing a jean jacket. I have the same handle on Instagram, and I'm also on LinkedIn under Michelle Bond, same picture with the jean jacket.
Why don't you put all that information in a post on a comment on the live on Facebook? Put all
Sure.
your
And we're also developing our website for our brand and group of hotels. Um, but it's under development. So I'll send it to you as we're coming along.
Yeah, yeah. So watch for that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, again, thank you for joining tonight, and thank you everybody for joining in. I'm Jan Carmanico Reeves on a mission to make real estate investing fun, easy, and profitable. And I will see you on the next video.
Thanks, Jan. Thanks for having me.
Okay.